Hello everyone and welcome to section 3 of the nTier online Java training tutorials. In this section we will be going over class declaration. We'll talk about how Java is case sensitive. We will talk about the elements of Java and we will go into depth on a few of them. We then will be talking about identifiers and the right way to write them, including how to name classes, variables, and methods. And then after that, we will talk about comments and what they do in Java programming. And we will talk about how Java doesn't care about whitespace. We will show some examples of this. Now, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we'll be getting into is class declaration. Now, there's a keyword you have to know in order to declare a class, and it is this right here. This is the declaration letting Java know that, hey, we're making a class. And this right here is the name of the class. This is its identifier. Now we'll go into the proper ruling on this here in a second. Now, that's easy enough. We just declared a class, and the / code goes here is a comment. Now, can you spot the difference of this code from the last code? Has a capital C in the class, which Java will see this and say, hey, that's not the keyword class, which means this isn't a class, and it won't work, it won't run, it won't compile. It says no. Java doesn't like it because Java is case sensitive. So the capitalization of each letter matters. Classes in Java can contain variables, methods, comments, reserved words, modifiers, statements, and blocks. In this section, we will only be talking about classes, methods, and variables. This here is what a variable looks like. Now don't worry about why it says string. That is a data type. We will be going into that in the next section. Well, actually, string is not a data type. String is a class. But don't worry, that'll all make sense later. Just know for now, when you want a variable to hold words, text, it will be a string. So string, this is declaring the variable, and then saying name1 is the name of our variable equals, and that is the value it holds. And then you've seen system.out.println before in hello world, and it just calls on the variable and says, hey, it's holding Grayson, and so it will print out Grayson. These names are valid names as methods, classes, and variables. They can have capital letters wherever, they can start with lowercase, they can have underscores in them. They can be a single letter, they can start with an underscore, and they can start with a currency sign. Invalid names contain a space, begin with a digit, or have alphanumeric characters in them. So that can include plus signs, minus signs, asterisks, and slashes. Now, something to note is that valid names cannot contain key words. For example, a variable name cannot be void, all lowercase. Otherwise, Java will become confused and your code will not compile. This is a list of not all, but a lot of the Java keywords. There's abstract, continue, for, new, switch, assert, default, go to, package, synchronized, boolean, do, if, and a lot of these words are not going to make sense. For example, boolean. Boolean is a data type. Don't worry, you will learn about that in the next section. All of these keywords will be learned as we go through our Java tutorials. When creating variables, methods, and classes, there's a convention to writing the names. These conventions are not enforced by the compiler, but they do help make your code more understandable to other people trying to read your code. For classes, we always start with a capital letter, and we capitalize each individual word, as you can see with string, system, person, and hello world's capital H, capital W, and security manager, capital S, capital M. And for methods, we do camel case. The first word starts with a lowercase, but every word following would then have a capital letter. So like get, capital A, age, lowercase s, set, capital A, age. And lowercase f, flush, capital B, buffer, and etc. And then we end those with parentheses because that is how we declare methods. We'll get more into that later, don't worry. As well, with variables, they are also camel case. The first word is lowercase, and the words following begin with a capital letter. Again, these are not enforced by the compiler, but they are good for making your code readable to other programmers and even yourself after you've been away from it for maybe months, depending on how big your project could be. A quick note I would like to make is about our example variable here. Our example variable equals null. Null is a key word and also a data type. Null means nothing. There is no data. That's what null means. It signifies to the compiler, hey, I'm not holding anything. Next, we're going to talk about comments and the three different kinds of comments there are. First, as you can see, there are single line comments, which are started and signified by a // Anything you write on this line after the / will not be considered as part of the program by the compiler. Next is multi-line comments, which is signified with a /* and then */ signifying the end. And if after the end, the // you can write code on that same line if it were so need be. Now with multi-line comments, you have to put the */ at the end, or it will consider every line of code after the opening /* as part of the comments. And you cannot nest multi-line comments. The compiler doesn't like it. The last comments we are going to be talking about are JavaDocs comments, which are signified with a /* and then closed with a */. Now, JavaDoc comments are read by a JavaDoc tool, which creates HTML-based API documents. Now, don't worry about that if that sounded like a whole bunch of gibberish. There'll be more on that later. Next, we will be doing Lab 3.1, declaring comments. Now, for the past few labs, Leslie and I have walked you through the labs, first with Section 1 and Section 2. Now, for this lab, I'm going to let you try it on your own. So after I read this out, I'd like for you to pause the video, and then afterward, I'm going to show you the solution, and we'll see how close they are. They don't have to be exactly the same, but kind of close. Because every program is different depending on each programmer. So, what I want you guys to do is I want you to declare a class with a valid identifier that follows Java naming convention. Now I want all of the things that you write or name in this lab to follow Java proper naming convention. Next, I want you to use comments, any of the three that I've shown you previously, to list 3 valid identifiers, one for classes, one for methods, and one for variables. And next, I want you to use comments to list 3 invalid identifiers, again, each one for classes, one for methods, and one for variables. This is my solution for Lab 3.1. I named my class identifiers with a capital I, as class naming convention suggests, to start class names with a capital letter. And for my valid identifiers, I showed my class, my method, and my variable, all following proper naming convention and being valid identifiers. And my invalid identifiers, I once again repeat with class, method, and variable. Again, your names certainly don't have to match mine in what they are, but they should have a similar feel to them based on the Java convention. Congratulations, you just completed Lab 3.1. Java doesn't care about white space. You can have as much white space in a program as you see fit. One of your goals while writing code and programs should be that it is readable and understandable for if someone else were to try to read your code. This, for example, is not good code. It would run and it would compile, but it's pretty gross. If anyone else were trying to come in and debug your code, they would have such a hard time trying to maintain it and understand what is going on. As you can see, this is much neater code and would be much easier for someone to come in and understand. Or even you yourself to come back and understand what on earth is going on if you've been away from it for a couple days or weeks or months. Now that concludes what we will be talking about here in section 3, and I hope to see you continue this course. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.